Hi everyone, my name is Tomodachi and welcome back to another reaction video, and today we're going to be reacting to What If Bendy Was in Smash. Now this is a Smash Moveset made by Brawlfan1. If you don't know who Brawlfan1 is, he's the guy that makes Smash Movesets. Go check him out, he's really popular in the Smash community. So with that out of the way guys, let's begin reacting. I like how you made it into a 1930s cartoon. Requested by this many people. A new record? Holy moly!
Just a heads up, this video will not have any jump scares.
Okay.
Don't worry, I hate them too. However, some of the content shown from the character and game that I'm covering today still has some unsettling imagery. So as such, viewer discretion is advised.
So, allow me to read what he just said. There are no jump scares in this video. The content of this game used some unsettling imagery. Viewer description is advised. Let's move on back to the video.
Bendy and the Ink Machine. Another indie horror title that paved its way into the limelight almost effortlessly. Though, I say it's a horror game, but really the game isn't actually all that scary. It has a few jump scares, sure, but, well, let me explain the story real quick. Also, spoiler warning now for those who want to avoid those. In the game,
You heard them. You heard them right, folks. This will have spoilers. If you want to check out Bendy and the Ink Machine yourself, click off this video right now and do not check out the video itself.
There's an animator named Henry. He was invited to his old studio to be shown something by his former colleague and friend, not Walt Disney over here. Soon after arrival, he finds himself trapped in a twisted world covered in ink, of which he must survive through in order to escape. During his trek, he encounters many familiar faces, cartoons of which he originally brought to life through his own drawings. But now they were brought to life for real through the power of a mysterious device called the Ink Machine. And of those cartoons, he was forced to face the very star of his animations, Bendy. A usually goofy little demon who finds himself in all kinds of wacky hijinks, but now deformed and trying to kill his own creator.
Ooh, sounds spooky.
Shadow of his former self, a true demon. And today, it'll be this very demon of which will be the subject for a Smash Moveset. Now here's the thing, this is a rather complicated case. You see,
Complicated? I like complicated.
there's technically two Bendys. There's the happy-go-lucky cartoon version, which is really no different than the likes of Mickey Mouse. And then there's the abomination who only calls himself Bendy.
So what you're meant to tell me is, there's good Bendy, and there's evil Bendy. Guys, leave in the comment section down below, which Bendy do you prefer, good or evil?
After looking at everything, I was pretty stumped. Do I cover the cartoon or the monster? But that's when I was hit with an idea. This is Smash, and each of its characters are carefully crafted into a theme. And after mulling it over, I think I know exactly how I'm going to handle this.
Gimmick
The that we'll be
time.
covering for this moveset will be a theoretical one. It'll be the cartoon given life by the Ink Machine. It'll be Bendy as he was originally made by Henry, but he'll be made of ink. So really what you'd be fighting would be more like a visual incarnation of the Ink Machine itself. Yes, this is technically not something we ever actually see in the game, but hear me out. We know that the Ink Machine does have some capacity to create proper-looking versions of the characters, with Boris here being...
So what you meant to tell me is that if I use the Ink Machine, I might be able to bring Ashley to life? Okay.
the biggest evidence of that. Plus, I think taking this approach would be the most interesting way to properly represent the game Bendy and the Ink Machine as a whole. As I said prior, the game really isn't all that scary. it's just more unsettling than anything else. I say that because while there is a few scary-looking things, for the most part, the studio you're trapped in really isn't all that scary at first glance. It isn't until you dig deeper when you realize that something isn't quite right here. And after being exposed to the threat, that's when the player will begin to feel on edge, knowing that at any point, something could appear to make your life a little harder. So that's how I'm going to be handling Bendy for this moveset. At first glance, he may seem like a friendly little guy, but it isn't until you see how he's doing what he does when you begin to realize what's really going on here. He'll do things that seem cartoony, but don't really have that cartoon innocence fueling it. What do I mean by that? Well, how's about I just show you rather than tell you? So let's go ahead and get right into Bendy's moveset. Bendy would be a mid-weight class character. He'd have 2 jumps and no additional movement options.
Are you sure there should be no additional moveset options? Cause I was thinking instead of 2 jumps, he had 3. I'll shut up now. The attacks.
Bendy can have a 3-hit jab that can lead into a rapid jab. The first hit can be a simple horizontal hook punch, but for the second jab, this gets right into what I was talking about earlier. In the same hand that he just punched with, he'll spawn a gent pipe from his own body, and swing it horizontally opposite of the direction that he swung his first jab. After which he'll take the gent pipe and swing it vertically from high to low for the 3rd hit. And if you choose to use that rapid jab, instead of the 3rd hit, he'll morph the gent pipe into a Tommy gun and begin firing short-range blinks of inks at a chaotic rate in front of himself.
Why a gun?
Do you see what I'm doing?
Why is Bendy using a gun? Guns aren't allowed in Smash. Wait, Joker uses a... God damn it, Ashton, again?
First glance, it looks like I'm treating Bendy almost in the same fashion as I did for Cuphead. Makes sense since they're both based off of 1930s cartoons.
Aren't you gonna mention up that Cuphead is a Mii Gunner now? Isn't he gonna bring that up? Well, I mean, he just did by showing us the picture, but I might like talk about it. Moving on. I'll shut up now.
But unlike Cuphead, whose morphing can be explained as because he's a cartoon, anything and everything that Bendy uses and does will be a product of his own body. Yeah. In Bendy and the Ink Machine, we see that pretty much everything you interact with, including the weapons, are made of ink. And you even have opportunities in the game to create more weapons out of ink. So Bendy here will be behaving like a goofy cartoon at first glance, but since you see how he's doing so, it adds more to that unsettling theming behind this moveset. In any which case, moving on to the dash attack, it'll have Bendy wind his leg backwards for a kick, but when he does so, a blob of ink will be separated from his foot that turns into a ball. Bendy then kicks this ink ball forwards as a projectile. The ball travels at a low arc and will disappear as soon as it touches anything. The side tilt can have Bendy spawn a pipe wrench into his hand and swing it vertically from high to low, very much in the same way we see weapons used in his own game by Henry. This is a tilt that can slightly be spammed. The up tilt can have Bendy turn his head into a literal target.
Oh,
you know those games where those targets pop up and you gotta shoot them? Well,
so what you meant to tell me is he turns his head into a target. That's basically saying, hey, I have a weak spot. Kick me out. Take me down if you want to. Oh.
We see this in the Bendy Hill section of his game, and that's what he'll reference for his up tilt. His head will morph into a wooden target that pops upwards to hit foes above himself. For the down tilt, it can have Bendy thrust a syringe forwards while low to the ground. In fact, to make himself even closer to the ground, he'll melt a part of his body to do so. This tilt would have a decent amount of range, and would have a sweet spot on the needle that would launch foes at low angles. And probably give them tetanus as well. I don't even want to know where that needle's been. Ugh. Okay. For Bendy's side smash, it can have him use one of the most powerful weapons in the game, the scythe. Ooh. Yes, there is a scythe in the game. You probably didn't know about it since the criteria to make it appear is super strict. Keep swinging it forwards at a diagonal angle to deal big damage. For the up smash, this can have Bendy melt his arm into the ground and cause a huge fist to punch upwards directly in front of himself.
Ouch.
It doesn't fully hit above Bendy, so it's better to use on foes who are in front of his y-axis instead. This attack references that section of the game where Henry is forced across a lake of ink on a paddle boat. And all the while, giant Bendy hands loom in the lake trying to play the worst game of got your nose in your life. For the down smash, this can have Bendy spawn 2 axes in each of his hands, and swing them both vertically from high to low to smash the ground on both sides of himself. For the neutral air, this can have Bendy shapeshift his whole body into a small Ferris wheel and spin to deal multiple flinching hits of damage. The forward air can have him spawn a whack-a-mole mallet and swing it from high to low forwards. This would be an attack that's capable of spiking if it sweet spots. For the back air, he'd do that silly thing that we see cartoon characters do when they remove one of their gloves and slap somebody with it. When he takes his glove off, it's actually his hand. Only a little stub. He then literally gives any foe behind him a hand as he swings his glove horizontally backwards. For his up air, he can spawn a comedically small-sized umbrella and stab it upwards, then open it, pretending like he plans to use it for a slow descent since he's in the air. This attack hits twice. There's the initial stab, which deals small flinching damage, and then when the umbrella actually opens, which deals launching damage. And finally, for the down air, Bendy can go to the most classic of slapsticks and drop an anvil on his foes directly below himself.
Ow!
Bendy spawns the anvil out of his body.
Oh, I know one of those I know one of those old gags, old cartoon gags. I know one of those. You know, a character is just standing there minding his own business, and right before you know it, BAM! Anvil!
And it does act like a projectile when he drops it. The anvil also will only disappear if it hits something or someone. Now, believe it or not, this actually does come from something related to Bendy. Not many of you may know about this, but there's actually a mobile game called Bendy's Nightmare Run, where Bendy has to run and jump through levels while being chased by a monster. You can throw things at the monster to slow it down, and anvils are very much amongst those things.
Oh, for the love of... ads! I hate ads! God, they're annoying. Oh, we got 2 in the same row. I'm trying to react to a Smash Moveset. God. Man, don't you just get annoyed at ads, guys? Man, I hate ads very much.
For grabs, Bendy will latch onto any foe using a plunger and pummel by kicking at the foe.
That should be Rabbit's grab, you know, where he pulls out a plunger, points it, and then kicks for a pummel. That should be the Rabbit's grab. You know, the rabbits?
No. I mean, I know Luigi does the same thing, but I can at least take solace in the fact that Luigi probably keeps his plungers clean. Luigi's are...
So what you meant to say is that Bendy's will be the same as Luigi's, and that which will also be rabbits. Sorta, I don't know. Let's just move on.
Responsible plumber, after all. Anyways, for Bendy's throws, these will all be very chaotic ideas that can lead to quite a bit of casualties. For the forward throw, Bendy would compress his foe into an ink ball while at the same time spawning a box with stacked up bottles on it. He'd then proceed to throw his foe at the bottles or try to knock them all over.
Oh!
Like one carnival game. The foe will be uncompressed when thrown, and will take damage once they collide with the bottles. However, if a separate opponent happens to be in the way, things could get out of hand real quick. If there's a different foe between the thrown foe and the bottles, they'll be knocked out of the way by the thrown foe. Or if another foe were to be standing in the spot where the bottles respawn, they'll take that damage instead of the thrown foe.
Ouch.
For the back throw, it could have Bendy turn his body into one of those spinning swing carnival rides, the same that we see as a boss in his own game. He'd give the foe the ride of their life as he spins them before tossing them towards the back. Oh, and by the way, I'm sure you see that there's 2 seats there. If a different foe gets too close to Bendy while he spins, they'd caught and thrown as well.
Ow!
Only happened to one additional foe, though, and the other foe...
Brawlfan1 is making Bendy more broken than he needs to be.
Who touches Bendy afterwards will just be knocked away. For the up throw, Bendy would spawn a mallet in one hand and a high striker game under the foe. He'd then play the game by smashing the ramp with the mallet and treat it as the thing that flies up to hit the bell. However, Bendy would hit it so hard that the foe would fly up way too fast, striking and taking damage when they hit the bell, and ultimately being sent high into the air. And other foes can take damage if they're in the way of the high striker spawning, but they'll also take big damage if for some reason they're in range of getting hit by Bendy's mallet as he swings it. And finally, for the down throw, Bendy would simply drop a crate on his caught foe, just like we see for that one puzzle where Henry has to crush a searcher. It deals modest damage, and other foes can be hurt by it if they're under the crate as well.
Oh. Oh yeah. Those are some pretty creative grabs right there. Now, it's time for the specials.
Now for Bendy's special attacks, these are certainly where I'm going to be emphasizing what it is I'm going for in terms of the theming behind this moveset. For his neutral special, he'll simply pull out a glob of ink from his own body and chuck it forwards as a projectile that's affected by gravity. It disappears if it hits an opponent, but if it hits the ground, it'll remain there for up to 10 seconds, and any foe who steps on the ink blob will be stuck in it, unable to move from that spot. Getting free isn't too hard though. They can wiggle the control stick to try to escape, they can attack, shield, or even sidestep to try to defend themselves, or more reliably, they can use an attack that physically moves them, such as most side or up specials. Though while this is the most guaranteed means of escape, it can also be the most dangerous, because if the Bendy player can predict that, they'll be able to punish you out of your attack. Oh, and by the way, Bendy is able to have 2 of these ink blobs on the ground at a time. If he uses the neutral special again while 2 are already out, then the oldest one will automatically disappear. And one more thing. There is a bit of randomness to this attack. There is a tiny chance that if Bendy pulls out an ink glob, it'll randomly turn into a can of bacon soup.
Bacon soup. Bacon soup. That's your best idea, Brawlfan1. Bacon soup.
Behaves just like the normal ink blobs, except if this collides with a foe, it deals damage and knockback.
I thought soup was supposed to heal the players, not kill them.
Enough so that I'm sure any poor unlucky sucker who ends up getting hit by it will be tempted enough to want to rage quit. Moving on to the side special, this could have Bendy pull out a hose from his own body and spray a stream of his own ink straight forwards. This mechanically works pretty much like the Inkling neutral special, being a stream projectile affected by gravity that can be angled, and it even covers the foe in ink that causes them to take extra damage from attacks. You hold down the special button to keep it going, but it will run dry after 5 seconds, leaving Bendy vulnerable for a bit. And that's pretty much the gist of it. It's just like Inkling's attack. I mean, when you have 2 characters that both fight with ink, they're bound to have some kind of similarity. But there is one thing to consider for this attack.
What?
If you're covered in ink, it'll actually make trying to free yourself from the neutral special ink blob much more difficult.
Ouch.
Makes sense since you're stickier. Now for Bendy's up special, this will have him do one of the most common abilities that we see the monster Bendy use throughout the game. Bendy seems to be able to morph through the walls and appear in totally new places. I think he's able to do this because it's implied that not only are the creatures and weapons made of ink, but that the studio itself is a product of the ink machine as well.
What?
So as such, Bendy's...
Hold up. Are you saying that the whole studio is made out of ink? How did I not realize that?
able to travel through its walls with ease. That said, it's just another teleport move. Bendy will disappear into a puddle of ink, and then reappear at any new spot within its range by reforming out of said ink. But to make this more interesting, when Bendy reforms, he does so in a splash of ink, and this splash can push foes away to catch them off guard. This special will also put Bendy into freefall. And finally, for his down special, it'll have Bendy simply slide forward in an almost theatrical way. This slide does deal damage to foes, but if used on the ground, he'll leave a short ink trail behind his tracks which remains for about 15 seconds before it evaporates. This ink trail is very slippery to walk on for anybody aside from Bendy, giving very little traction for opponents. But that's not the scariest thing about this ink trail, as after a couple of seconds from being made, a single searcher can spawn from the ink. Searchers are a common mook enemy in their game, and they were pretty relentless in wanting to get their hands on poor Henry. For Smash, they're confined to the ink trail that they spawned from, but they'll still actively attempt to attack those who get too close to them. They'll do one of two things. Either attack by simply swinging their arms around, which deals some minor damage, or they'll attempt to grab foes. This doesn't deal any damage, but it can lead to problems if Bendy happens to be nearby. Being grabbed by searchers is no different than being grabbed by other fighters. You can escape, but it gets harder when you're at higher damage percents. Only one ink trail can be on screen at a time, so if Bendy makes a new one, the previous one, along with its searcher, will just automatically evaporate. So now do you have a grasp on what it is I'm going for?
Yeah, you're going for a really spooky Smash Moveset.
All of Bendy's attacks give off this vibe of unease, and his specials and throws all give heavy emphasis on stage control and making your opponents vulnerable. They give off this claustrophobic feeling of being trapped, like there's nowhere to run, and at any moment, Bendy could appear to wrap up your show for good.
Oh, no.
Just like how it feels to play Bendy in the ink machine. The game doesn't appear inherently all that scary, but the true fear comes from the feeling of being trapped, with little hope of escape. He wants to immerse you, to play with you, but he doesn't want you to leave. You're stuck in his world. And that's what makes his game so much more effective. Its tone. And that was the tone that I strived to go for when I built the theming of this moveset. Okay. He may not look like it, but you can definitely feel it. And if you're not cautious, your life will truly become Bendy's hell.
Okay. I did not need to know what were you going for, because I already knew. Jesus. I am definitely not going to sleep tonight.
Want to follow your favorite?
Are you kidding me? Another app.
Place to stay for any budget. On booking.com.
Another one.
Of course, I'll start as a genius.
I don't
People?
care.
Fine.
Alright?
Amateur just needs some.
Let's just get back to the video. Jesus. These ads. So annoying. Final Smash time.
Bendy's Final Smash is pretty obvious to anyone who's played his game. He'll choose to completely drop the facade and turn himself into the beast. From there,
Bendy.
he'll do like what we see from his battle at the end of the game. He'll charge all around the stage at a high speed, appearing out of nowhere and disappearing at all angles. Anyone hit by his body will take massive amounts of damage and knockback. And after about 5 seconds of this chaos, he'll come down and revert back to his cartoon appearance in the same spot where he started it.
Nothing much, huh? I would have preferred if he'd done a cinematic with Beast Bendy. But hey, this is Brawlfan1 we're talking about. He does great Smash Movesets.
For Bendy's colors, his default would show him in the color scheme of the game itself. Black and a pale yellow. For
Okay,
his alt,
sweetie,
the
shush.
first 3 colors could reference the main 3 colors of ink used for our printer. Cyan, magenta, and yellow. The next 3 alts could be original colors, blue, red, and green. And his final color could be black and white instead of black and pale, referencing old colorless cartoons. For a stage intro, it'll just show a big blob of ink fall from the sky, and Bendy will form out of it and take a bow. For taunts, his first can show Bendy spawn a ball to bounce on and some torches to juggle, only to soon fail and fall, dropping everything.
That's
This
risky.
references one of his cartoons, the Nightmare Fair episode to be specific. His second can have him pull out a can of bacon soup and hold it over his mouth to chug down its contents.
Ew! Why would he actually drinks bacon soup?
Except it wouldn't be bacon soup, it'd be more ink.
Ew!
Final Taunt can have Bendy pull out the seeing glass and look through it. At first just towards what's in front of himself, but then he'd turn and look towards the screen. But when he does this, you'll see something very different.
What?
You'd see Bendy's true nature.
Ah!
And finally, for the victory animations, the first will show the whole area covered in this creepy and gooey darkness. You'll see a shadow of the demon Ink Bendy slowly walk up from off-screen. But then when he actually appears on screen, it'll just be the cartoon Bendy. This references the same effects that happen in his game that indicate whenever Ink Bendy is close by. The second can show the whole area filled with cardboard cutouts of Bendy. The camera will be shown zooming in on one of them, until the real Bendy jumps out from behind the cutout to do a goofy childish scare. Much like what you would see from a cheap horror ride at a carnival. Afterwards, Bendy will just be waving at the camera.
Buddy?
And the final animation will start with
video.
Bendy simply taking a bow, that is until his body begins to melt and then reforms into the giant end screen that we see at the end of his cartoons, reading out, "The End."
Well, there's a boy Bendy.
And that does it for What If Bendy Was in Smash.
Now let's see the characters list we got. Yep, there's apparently one got in, cause Sans and Cuphead don't count. Banjo-Kazooie got in. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this reaction video. If you do, then please don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified. And go check out Brawlfan1's channel. You're gonna love him, I promise. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!